Hi, I'm Joel. It's day 3,163 of my running streak. I'm in my nation's fair capital, London. This is Hyde Park. I'm running with somebody really interesting today, and also I'm a bit of an on-running fan. I'm wearing a lot of on-running gear, shoes, shorts, and this amazing shirt. Now, you wouldn't think I could get excited about a t-shirt, but this is an incredible t-shirt, and the shoes are pretty cool too. They've got amazing soles, so I'll be interested to see how these feel. Thanks to On Running for sending these to me. It's kind of cool to run in some good stuff. We're going to do probably 4 miles today. Let's get going. So today I'm running with William Pullen, who's got a really interesting story about running. Thanks for coming out, William.
Nice to be here, Joel.
And how often do you run, before we get into your story of how you run, how often do you come out? And this is your regular...
I do 2 a week in here with the A6 Run Club,
right,
which is on a Monday and a Friday night. And then I do one with a friend down the river on a Wednesday morning. And then the rest of the time I'm running with clients. We're going to get this way, actually.
Okay.
I'm running with clients, but they don't run that much, during a dynamic running therapy session, which is normally about 50 minutes. We run like 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally up to them. We could sit the whole thing out.
So you're quite well known for this therapy technique, which I think you've pioneered, and I think dynamic running therapy is a phrase that you coined yourself. I've watched your TED talk, which was fascinating. I want to talk a bit about that in a minute as well.
Okay.
So tell me how you got into psychotherapy, and specifically how you got into running psychotherapy, which in fact sounds fascinating. I think everybody should run. But...
Well, I agree with that. Well, like a lot of therapists, the story normally involves a little bit of drama. In my case, well, if people really want to hear more about the real drama, they can watch my TEDx.
Yeah.
But
I'll put a link to that.
Yeah, great. But for the sake of this, to keep it brief, I basically at 39 had a meltdown after a sort of relationship disaster.
Right.
And ended up really especially depressed and bereft, and I don't know, I'd never been in that state before.
So you're in a pretty dark place. Were you a runner anyway?
No.
That's an interesting leap to go from feeling awful to putting your running shoes on.
When you sit around feeling awful long enough, isolating, feeling just dreadful and hopeless and depressed, at some point you think, I've got to do something. And while I was very depressed, I was smart enough to know that depression is a condition.
Right.
It's a state of mind. And what it's telling you is all rubbish. The ideas such as you'll never be happy again, things are lost forever, etc.
Well, it's your mind giving you the wrong information.
Yeah. It's just in a deeply demoralized state.
Right. So how did you...
So I started off by going into therapy, which is no easy thing.
No.
And like a lot of clients, I began fairly defensively. I was fairly hostile, I dare say. In the end, it was a really productive thing, but I knew I needed an excuse to get out. It wasn't enough going from my house to a session back to my house.
Right.
I was still too isolated, so...
And were you working at the time? Were you...
Yeah, I was working for myself. Working in television format development.
Really?
Coming up with ideas for TV shows.
Wow.
So I was lucky enough to have a friend called Chris who was also going through a crap time. And we started off walking, turned into a run. We started off doing 10 or 20, 50, 100 meters a day.
Right.
And bit by bit, we built on it. But what I noticed was how what I was doing in therapy was the conversations were leaking into the conversations I was having when I was running.
Right, with Chris.
And the process of running was helping me process the very things I've been talking about in therapy. they were coming up more easily than they did in therapy.
Right. So the therapy was the catalyst for it, but that's what got things moving really inside your brain.
Exactly. And that was what made me realize how running could help you access feelings and burn through things, anxiety and things like that, and create a sense of confidence and progress. And so then I decided to train to be a therapist.
Right.
And then I thought, well, then I became a therapist. And then I thought maybe I was still doing this running. I thought maybe I can share this genius thing.
Right. It's amazing intellectual leap to make, and it clearly worked for you, but then to take it to other people I think is fantastic. What you're doing with the dynamic running therapy on a larger scale, you've written a book, right?
I've written a book, there's an app.
So would it be fair to say that running has really kind of dominated your life since that time? How long ago was that? Like how long?
Well, the meltdown was 11, 12 years ago.
Right.
And that's when the journey began. So we might have to wait here.
That's all right.
To get over the lights. For your
it's nice to be running around. I've never run in Hyde Park before.
It's really nice.
It's beautiful.
And for your viewers, I don't know if they know, but we just passed the Albert Memorial.
Oh, of course, and
the Albert Hall.
Albert Hall.
This is Hyde Park.
Serpentines over there somewhere.
That's
right?
correct.
I went to a Marina Abramovich exhibition at the
I went
gallery.
to that.
I went to the opening night. One of my friends is dating Marina.
Oh really?
So
Tell me about that, because
yeah.
You know, she held my hand as she does with people who visit her shows, and made me part of the show, and
that's amazing.
I really felt that holding of the hand felt quite magic to me.
She's a pretty special lady, and Todd, my friend, and her have been together for some time. Oops, sorry. And, yes, must be a very interesting person to be around.
Now, how did they get together? Because where is Todd? In London?
No, he's in Philadelphia. But he's all over the place. He was a movie producer. He wrote and produced the movie Control about Joy Division, if you remember that.
Yes, yeah. Got a lot of good reviews.
Yes, great movie. Yeah, he's a really interesting chap, but obviously heavily into the art scene, and I try and do a bit of contemporary art collecting whenever I can.
Okay.
So I try and...
Has she given you any of her work?
I wish. No, it's a fascinating lady. But Todd runs. I did a run with him for my channel, and annoyingly, it's a great run. We had a great time. I fell over. I dropped the camera. It was quite memorable, and then none of it recorded. So that was one that I'll have to repeat at some time in the future.
The video or the show that was made, the documentary that was made about her time at the was it the Museum of Contemporary Art in New York or wherever it was, where she did that silent sitting thing.
Yeah, she just sat and and interacted with people with that, and her partner Uday came along.
He showed up. Yeah, that was powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah, amazing.
No, it blew me away to watch her eye. I mean, because it's not so different to what I do. I have to sit there, and mostly during sessions, I don't talk to my clients. It's for them to talk mostly.
Yeah.
But I have to keep fairly good eye contact with them to show them that I'm with them and I'm there, and that's what they've come for. This is somebody to share this moment. And you know, it's powerful in the same way. You're watching somebody, you're being watching somebody, looking at somebody, seeing somebody. Seeing is better than watching, I suppose.
Sure.
Anyway, it's a powerful thing, and I definitely got the sense with her that she was open. She was absorbing. Her eyes felt as though they were open to whoever sat down.
Yes, she has an amazing mindset. She's an incredible lady. So your therapy practice, do you do standard talk therapy as well as the running therapy? Well, for the running therapy, do you actually get out with people and run next to them?
Yeah,
like we're doing?
Yeah. So the running therapy, I either do therapy indoors or outdoors. I don't mix it up.
Right.
if you decide to hire me for running therapy, it becomes like regular therapy.
Right.
It's 50 minutes.
50,
50.
right?
Yeah, schedule.
Yeah.
Every week. And will go on as long as it goes on.
And that involves a run, like running next to them.
It involves meeting my clients here.
Yeah.
Typically. And we, as I said before, the session is directed by the client in terms of movement.
Yeah.
Because that's really important. I don't want them to feel they're striving for me or that I'm dictating the way this works. It's very important for them to feel they're making the choices. And you know, there's a lot of instinct for humans to do what other people are doing.
Yes, of course.
So when I take that out and I say, no, you do it, you decide what we're doing, it's quite interesting.
How do you remove the judgment from that? Because inevitably they're going to say, well, what does he think of me? I mean, I know you're a therapist and they're paying for you not to judge them, but it must be quite hard for people in that position, especially if they don't know you or they've never met you before, have only seen you on TED Talks. You're a potentially intimidating sort of intellectual figure, if you know what I mean. It's
I don't think that's any different from being in an office and sitting there with me. I mean, to the extent that the body's involved and they may feel more naked, so to speak, more seen, there's another thing for me to judge them by, how they move.
Yeah.
Do I appear clumsy to him? Do I appear unfit to him? You know, I hope that I take care of all of that before the first session.
Right.
When we talk about how there's, you know, how it's most definitely not about pushing yourself as hard as you can. It doesn't matter how you do it. In fact, the less you think about that, the better. It should be as natural and easygoing as possible. And you know, good therapy, when you have a good therapeutic alliance, when there's trust, when there's a feeling of togetherness on this journey, it does just unravel. It just happens.
Do you find people open up more in your running sessions when running is and movement is involved than they do in the office clinical sessions?
It's not easy to generalize, obviously, but I definitely feel that way anyway, with men especially.
You're going this way?
Yeah, you're going to go left and then right.
Okay, cool.
I feel that men find it significantly easier because we're not facing off.
Right.
It's less challenging. I don't sit in this powerful position where I'm the one with all the answers and you've come to me. It's more like we're out doing this thing together. You feel, well, at least I know this guy's got to take every step I take.
Yes, you're in it with me.
Exactly.
And how many of those runs, because you do 3 runs yourself a week, presumably on your own or with your friend, and how many other sort of,
I don't know,
therapy sessions? It depends, presumably. Do people sign up for like a 6-month thing, or do they say, right, I'm going to do 4 of these, or
no?
How does it work?
I tell them that it's like regular therapy, which means that
every
most
week,
likely, it's weekly, and most likely it'll take a long time a certain amount of time to work through. Because quite often, what you present with is not what actually needs to be talked about. It's symptomatic of whatever that may be. You know, so sometimes it's peeling off layers. Sometimes it's something deep and emotional, a period of growth or change in their lives that appears to be creating anger, but only and problems at work with fellow workers or with your partner. But it's really because of the limitations or the adaptations that you've come to believe about yourself or adopt, and so you're struggling to push through or allow yourself to be who you need to be in this moment, to quit this job, to quit this relationship, or quit this way of being, this way of belief. And when we're struggling to move from one place to another, that frustration can come out as anger, can come out as sadness, and it just needs to be opened up a little bit so people can understand, no, that's a valid experience. It makes sense to me that I'm, what's an example? It makes sense to me that I'm struggling with my own sense of self now that my daughter's 16, because at 16 I went through a massive,
Sure.
and my daughter's reminding me, it could be anything, you know.
Yeah. And I found through my running, and there wasn't a particular crisis moment that started, but I was in a much worse place when I started my streak than I am now.
Right.
And it helps you. I mean, I genuinely believe everybody should run every day, but that's my extreme all or nothing nature. But it helps you be in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really be anywhere else. It's not like you can, on a bike you can freewheel and let your mind wander.
Yeah.
With running, you've got to be active all of the time. And being in that moment surely helps sort of focus away from thoughts about the past and things you could have done or should have done, and the future and bleakness and all that sort of stuff. It keeps people for however long your sessions are, your 50 minutes, focused in that 50 minutes.
Yes.
Which must be very rewarding, and also they accomplish something. Like, you and I would have run 4 miles, which is no mean feat.
Yeah. And there's that sense of progress, that you're doing something. A lot of the time we feel fairly sort of lost and anxious, not sure how to spend the next hour. Well, this definitely gets you into doing something, which is a good place to be in. One kind of doing begets another kind of doing.
Yeah.
And soon you're a doing person.
That's
I always think it's good to be doing.
very much.
You know, whether it's reading a book or creating art or going for a walk, telling your wife how much you love her, whatever it may be.
My wife would agree with that.
But I wanted to jump in there, if I may, and say that what you were just talking about, the sense of being in the here and now, is why mindfulness is a big part of dynamic running therapy. It's a big part of my app. For that very reason, that I think that when we occupy the here and now, we are in a more powerful and rational place. When we're sitting around in an anxious state, wondering about things, there's not enough of the now to make sense of it.
Right.
Which is why we end up anxious.
Interesting.
When we jump into the here and now, it's like before a run, you might have a problem, and then you do the run, which is a strangely creative practice, and at the end of it, you have an answer to your problem, even though you weren't crunching it during the run. And I think that's because you've gone from this passive thinking about state before the run to I'm now the man or woman who's a doer.
Yeah.
And with that doer mindset, I now see my way through this problem. I don't know if I've got the best answer to it, but at least I've got a strategy for action, which I didn't possess before.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, you're taking control of, at least temporarily, of your situation. I'm making a decision and doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going for a run.
I think all meetings should be done walking or hiking or running.
Steve Jobs is a big proponent of the walking meeting, I understand, and he was a pretty high achiever.
Yeah, pretty high. So what do you do when you're not running?
Well, I travel quite a lot. I represent the companies, the developers that make video games. So I'm an agent. I mean, I'm sure you bumped into literary agents.
Yes, I have.
And television agents and film agents. I'm the video game equivalent.
For the companies or for the developers that work in the company?
The companies themselves.
Okay.
Groups of individuals rather than the individuals.
Yeah.
Because making a video game is a team effort. You can't do it on your own. Although these companies are, it wasn't me smelling that bad. These companies are obviously run by fairly ambitious, creative individuals. So it's an interesting job, but
I'm still confused, because if you're an agent for me, then you represent my business interests.
yes.
But a company is surely representing its own business interests.
Yes, but
So where do you sit in there?
well, I help their management, right? So if I work with the studio heads or the CEOs to to make commercial deals that make sense for them. So if they want to make a video game, it costs $20 million.
Yeah.
Well, they probably haven't got that sitting around. So I've got to go and get an advance from somebody. So I've got to go and pitch it to a publisher, just as you might pitch a movie to a movie studio.
Yeah.
And then we've got to get the financials sorted out and the recoup and the royalty model and all that.
And you get a cut of all of that.
Yes.
That sounds good.
So I'm motivated to do as good a job as possible. It's interesting work.
But it's not a deal a minute.
No, God no.
You got to really, and a lot of work goes to nothing, I assume.
Very,
as well.
very much, and we don't get paid unless we do deals. I was on HMS Belfast last night for a launch party for one of our games, and that took 3 years to do that deal.
Wow. And you only get paid on the first day of.
Well, as soon as they get as soon as they get an advance, we get
Right.
we get some of it, but we've it's bread and water until then. The trick is to have some good clients, which luckily we do, and to do some work on some good games, which luckily we do. So
How exciting! What fun!
yeah, it is fun, and I get to travel a lot, and I try and optimize my running around my travel. So if I'm going somewhere, I'll try and find somebody to go and run with.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I did some corporate work for a hotel chain the other day who have tried to put in a exercise program into their hotels, because
good idea.
they recognize how many businessmen travel and give up their exercise. So they've got a program where you can borrow the entire running gear and speak to the concierge who will hook you up with a local
That's a
running group.
fantastic idea.
So, yeah, how do you find local runners? What's your strategy?
Well, I generally, because my streak dictates everything, more or less. Like I put off going to Australia because I know it would be complicated to get my run in.
You'd have to run the minute you land.
Yeah, I'd have to do a stop in the Dubai and do a run in the airport or something like that.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot.
Okay.
So protecting my streak has become a bit of an obsession. But if I'm travelling with checked baggage, the stuff that I put in the cabin is always my running gear, just in case they lose my bag,
Yes.
because I've got to have my running gear with me.
Yep.
And I tend to, well, because of the YouTube channel, I've been trying actively to run with interesting people, and it's been extremely rewarding. I've met loads of really nice people.
Have you tried to get Marina on it?
I'd love to, but I'm not sure she's a runner.
No, I doubt it. She's
Todd was the partner. My friend is a really good runner, better than I am.
right.
Very, very keen. And running has turned his life around strangely. I don't know anybody that runs and is the worst for it.
No.
I was talking about this to a guy to my Uber driver on the way over here this morning.
Yeah.
And I said, if somebody came to you with an investment strategy whereby if you give them £1, they will guarantee to give you £1.10 back.
Yeah.
You'd put all your money in it. You'd mortgage your house. You'd become obsessed. And that's running. It always
That
gives
is running.
more than it takes.
Well, except for those who are lucky enough to get some bad injuries or wear out. I mean, I read a lot of different studies, and I've read as many that say running does not impact the knees and does not impact the hips, and I've read just as many that say it does. So I don't know where one sits on that.
Well, there's somebody who's run every day for nearly 9 years. I'm all right.
Well, I'm all right
I'm not
too.
exactly built like a runner. I'm not no sort of racing snake.
Yes. I wonder if these people aren't just running badly.
got
Either
bad
too
shoes
hard
or
bad shoes or bad form, running form.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
A slow run is always better than no run. And I think there's so many benefits to it.
I am a slow runner, and I don't run. My regular run distance is about 12 miles a week. My own run.
Right.
With my clients, it's just extra slow, and I don't even count it.
Right.
I feel like 12's not going to wear out anything particularly. A slow 12. But I did read the other day that if you can, you should do a bit more than that. But it's a different report every week.
Oh right, absolutely. The only person to listen to is yourself. You're the best arbiter of what's good and not good for your own body.
So we were talking about your work just now, working, and just before we started the run, you mentioned how you essentially co-opted game theory to create a game out of running, i.e. making sure you run 3 miles every day for the rest of your life, or however long it is.
Until life throws something at me to prevent me, and that's the game, is what's life going to throw at me that's going to prevent me running. So far, nothing. And I've done some strange runs in some strange places,
I bet,
at strange times of the day.
So for somebody who's struggling right now, about to drop their run or wants to take up running, and has a mind anything like yours, what goes on in turning it into a game?
Well, I think that's a good question, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because I started out, and if you'd have said to me, you're going to run for 9 years without having a day off, I'd say that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's so far over the horizon that I can't even begin to think about it. So I never really think about the future as far as that's concerned. I just think about the run.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next run I'm going to do? And
or as they say in marathon running, always run the mile you're in.
Yes.
Don't worry about where you'll be in the next mile.
That's very sensible sound advice.
So that's part of your game theory, is you're always looking, the game is constructed in your head as something that's you've only got to win the next game.
Yes.
Not the one after that.
Well, it's like becoming a millionaire. Like, you don't say, right, I want £1 million. You get your first pound, and then you find out where the second one's going to be.
Yeah.
And then you focus on the third one, and
and you've got
times that by $1 million, you're suddenly got a lot of money.
And one of the tricks there, I think, is, and maybe this fits into game theory, but you have to be a bit like game developers using agile development. You have to be agile because the business model or the running model that you
changes
have,
all the time.
Yeah, your experience with it, the rules of it may change. The fundamental of how you win, doing the 3 miles, that remains the same. But you may have to do it in a different country, different weather, different time, with a different attitude, different clothes, different people.
Yeah.
You remain agile, and you can get to all sorts of places.
Well, I do sometimes marvel at the reversal of my attitude towards running, because if 12 years ago you'd said to me, you're going to run 3 miles today, I'd have said, well, you're mad. Clearly I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. Now, cut forward to day 3,163 of my streak. If you said, you're not going to run tomorrow, I'd say, well, that's not going to happen. You have to break both my legs to stop me running tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's such a strong motivation to keep this thing going. Can we make this light?
I think so. Come on then. Well done.
That would be a nasty end to my streak, wouldn't it? Somewhat ironic.
Well, who knows how it'll end? I mean, part of game theory, I think, part of remaining agile, part of mental health is keeping your expectations low. The higher you set them, the harder they are to achieve, and the harder it is to enjoy them. If, as you said, you keep it for the next day, I've only got to do the next day. If your expectation, you've got to be ready. And what I'm trying to say is, part of keeping it, the benefit of keeping it a win just for the next day and keeping that moving, is that, should you, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, if you do get hit by a truck, so be it. You're not right now living in fear that I'll never get to 12,000 because I'm going to get hit by a truck.
That's right.
If you get hit by a truck, you do, you don't.
Yeah.
But you don't worry about that today. If I'm worrying about getting to 12,000, then I have to worry about these things.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation about this sort of topic with Mark Beaumont, who I ran with. I was very lucky enough to run with. He cycled around the world in 78 days.
Wow.
Which is an extraordinary feat. And if you get the chance to read his book, it's mind-blowing. He's an amazing, focused, self-possessed, intelligent individual. I really like running with him. But he said, when you're doing 240 miles a day, right, which is on one day, let alone 78 in a row, would be murder.
Yeah.
The carrot of having finished is just too far away. You can't focus on that.
No.
That's just over the horizon somewhere. But what you've got to focus on is the next 5 minutes, or if it's really bad, the next 5 paces, just to get you through it. It's just like focusing on the goal of running for 9 years would be ridiculous.
Well,
just unachievable, unattainable. But
yeah.
focusing on the goal of finishing this run to Kensington High Street, that's pretty attainable, right?
So one of, in my book, one of the things I do is instructions on how to run mindfully.
Fascinating.
How to keep it in the here and now.
Yeah.
Instead of, will I finish this tomorrow? Is to count every other footfall, count every other breath, or every breath if you like. Count up to 10, start again. Or even what I do sometimes is, and I was doing this on Monday night, I'd gone for a long walk during the day. It was 10 miles in the blazing heat.
Yeah.
I was feeling tired, and I was doing this quite hard run with my run club. I was like, God, I'm suffering here. And I just sort of remembered, just start counting. Count your footfall. Even do it out loud. And that takes your mind away from all the sort of pain and into a different place. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very wise. When I started running, I wanted to make sure my breathing was okay, because being out of control of your breathing is horrible. It's a horrible feeling. It puts a lot of people off. So I think about the gear I'm in. We're running along in what I call fourth gear, which is in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. And I could pretty much run fourth gear forever.
Right.
But if I'm talking, or if the gradient increases, I might drop to third.
Yeah.
Which is 1, in 2, 3, out 2, 3.
Yeah.
And obviously sprinting is in, out by every pace. And I can think about that and what I'm doing, and all of a sudden I've run 3 miles. I didn't even notice it.
Absolutely. There's so many mental games you can use. Another one I'll do, I do this at the end of half marathons, and it probably really annoys people, but I become the cheerleader. And I don't mind doing that so much because I'm not with the pros at the front, but I'm sure it irritates some people. So as I'm starting to struggle at the end, because there's that thing, the closer you get to the end, and I'll start screaming out, "Come on, team!" And they're not my team. I don't know who they are. But it G's me up. It gives me a sudden, even now it's just done it.
Yeah.
It gives me a little tingle as I feel the force of my drive. And for a moment I think,
extremely positive way of doing it.
yeah. And I allow myself to believe that I'm part of a team now. These people are joining me. I don't know. There's another side to running. I owe an apology to the guy in the last half marathon I did. As I said, I only did it in 2 hours. I'm not like a competitive runner. You can hear from my huffing and puffing. And it was near the end, and we were at a bit of a bottle point.
Right.
And I wanted to get around. I like to sprint the end.
Right.
Well, maybe not sprint, but
Speed
something
up.
closer. Yeah, speed up. And this guy was in my way on the outside, and I tried to go around him. As I saw him jumping in, it turned out he was jumping in because there was a bin on the side of the road, blocking the road.
So you ran into it?
So, no, it was run into the bin or run into him.
Oh shit.
So I had to run into him. He used some descriptive words for me.
Colourful language, I'm sure.
And I returned some. I still feel bad about that. If you're watching this, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, one does get quite driven when one's running in that competitive street.
How do you counsel your clients on
Go left here.
on sort of competitiveness? Because I don't race. I don't really care whether I run fast or whether I run slowly. I don't care about PBs. I don't care whether I'm a good runner.
Yeah.
All I care about is getting out to 3 miles. But I would imagine some people get almost obsessed with PBs and then they drive and say, I'm not good enough. Can that become a problem?
Well, no, because I'm not counselling runners.
Right. But they become runners, presumably.
They may do, but if they become competitive runners, it's probably after we've finished our work together. they may begin a slow practice. I hope they do. I encourage them to do that, or at least to walk, to get out, to use their body in some way. So no, we don't.
You don't worry about that sort of thing?
I don't know.
So what is it about running why is it better than walking? Because I think it is. But I think it's something to do with the difficulty. Like it's doing what we've just done, and what we are doing, is difficult. And having completed something difficult in your day, you know, you've got that sense of accomplishment, which, let's face it, 99% of the people don't do this.
Yeah.
So there's also that kind of pious, I'm better than everybody else feeling, which is useful from time to time. But, you know, walking isn't difficult enough somehow. A marathon's too difficult.
Yes. I mean, I think we all enjoy a sense of accomplishment. And the bigger the challenge, the more it took from us, the more we enjoy that. I think a big part of it actually with running is I think there's a timelessness to it. You know, when we came down from the trees, whatever it was, 5 million years ago, prior to that, we'd been up the trees, and now we're down on the ground, hunter-gatherers, and we need to work with the man next door, maybe 3 or 4 guys and women, to try and
chase down our prey.
Yeah. Sometimes using persistence hunting,
yeah.
Which means following them for a day or 3. That takes a lot of cooperation, and so I think for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions, we spent a good part of the day running and walking around with other people, talking and saying, hey, Ugh, you go left, I'll go right. And that feeling of success and just the feeling that it's something your body's made for.
Yeah.
We're not using our bodies. I'm not saying anything original here.
No.
Everybody will agree with that. Your body loves it. Your immune system loves it when you use your body properly.
I genuinely believe, and I mean this, having, you know, my own personal experience, is that we need food, we need water, we need sleep, and we need exercise. And exercise is the one that gets thrown away because it's inconvenient. You haven't got time. You've got other things to do. You can think of an excuse. I'm lucky because I've gamed myself into not having any excuses. I can't use an excuse. Right? There are no excuses. I've got to do it. But it's very easy to not. It's much easier to not run than it is to run. All right, back over to the corner.
Right to the corner.
This has been a great run, William. Thank you.
Well, this is another piece, Joe, about running and talking. Is that anybody who's been for a run will, and talk with their neighbour for the most part, will notice how much faster the run goes. Here we've really just flown through this run.
Where's it gone? We've just done 4 miles.
And also we have lucidly delved quite deeply into several profound subjects, all in half an hour. Then we go off and do something else. That's a pretty productive and powerful use of half an hour.
Damn right. Well, as I said, I never feel that my time running has been wasted, and it always gives more than it takes, and I feel blessed that I've stumbled upon this ridiculous game, and
yes,
I think everybody should do it. But I really, really admire what you're doing in your therapy. That's a terrific and laudable enterprise, and I wish more people would do it.
Well, I want to tell your viewers, any who are struggling right now, you know, just take the first step. For mental health, running and walking is so good. And if you feel depressed and you can't move, just take 1 step if you can. And the next day, like your game theory, worry about the next day after that. Even if it's literally 20 feet, do 20 feet.
Well, William, thank you. We're back where we started from. That was really good, and I really appreciate you coming out. It's a real pleasure to meet you.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And so tell people about your book. Book is
Run for Your Life, or in America it's Running with Mindfulness.
Right.
I've got a TEDx talking a lot about my process of how I became a therapist, and something called Empathy Runs I think are brilliant, and you can find that on YouTube. It's called Movement is medicine, William Pullen on YouTube, and then I've got Pullen Therapy.
I'll put all the links.
I'll put all of that on.
Thank you so much.
It's
I
been
really
a pleasure.
appreciate it. It was great. A really nice course and nice weather. And
Isn't it nice?
it's great. What a great way to end a week and start a weekend.
Absolutely.
Again, thanks very much, William.
Pleasure, John.
Really appreciate it.